Okay, we're live. Hi,
All right.
everyone. I'm so excited to introduce you today to my dear friend and my own personal financial coach, Ryann Williams. And Ryan has his MBA in finance and economics, but is also the founder of Jory Coaching, which is a financial coaching institution. And Ryan, why don't you tell us just a little bit about how you decided to become a financial coach.
Yeah. Sure. Well, thanks for the intro. I think that for me, I realized that when I had first kind of got into the workforce, I felt this kind of like misalignment within myself, where I was giving myself these goals and had these expectations of myself that I was going to be able to meet financially, right? Like I wanted to become a homeowner and these types of things. And over time it wasn't happening, and I felt this deep disappointment in myself. um like I was feeling disappointment in the past version of myself and the decisions that he had made. And I wanted to try to figure out ways that I could try to um find that alignment, to bring the past me and the present me together, so that they were on the same page and working towards the same goals. At the same time, I had friends that, because of my background in finance, might come to me, and they were also kind of feeling this kind of chaos in their life, where, you're going through your 20s maybe, and money just feels like this thing that can be filled with so much like regret sometimes, or this fear where you don't even want to look at it. And It's just bringing up a lot of nasty feelings and emotions. And I try to kind of help them through it. And after doing that a couple of times, I decided to make it more formal and kind of formalize it into this coaching business that we have today.
I mean, the leap that you took is actually such a big deal, and I feel like that's worth like speaking to because you were really well established in a corporate career and I think managed hundreds of people and stuff, right? Like you just said that like it was so casual, but like you're not in corporate anymore. This is everything you're doing. Like, what was it for you where you said like, no, this is important enough that like I need to branch out on my own and I need to start my own business and really get out there and help people with this?
Yeah. Well, I feel kind of almost a responsibility to do it. Um, I did have, the corporate career, and I could live a very comfortable life, with the career that I had. And I was in ops and leading lots of people, like you said, and it provides a fine life for me. But I don't know that I'd really feel fulfilled enough. I come from a pretty, um, like if I think back to the neighborhood that I come from, and like the people on my block or in my neighborhood, I'm one of the few that has made it, quote unquote, to, the certain markers of achievement or what have you. But I feel that I've for a long time I've realized that like I have potential to do something big, and I kind of feel this responsibility to do something, to help people that come from where I come from, to be able to do more, to live better lives. A lot of the way you live your life is driven by your financial situation. Um, if you're not able to meet your basic needs, you're in a constant state of survival mode. Um, in order to be able to experience love, you need to not be thinking about what you're going to eat next. In order to think about how to like build a relationship with somebody, whether that's, family, friend, romantic, um, you need to not always be working. You need to have resources to do things, to gift people things, to go places, to have your time. Money comes back to time at the end of the day, and I want to be able to help people, um, to live a little bit better. So I kind of felt this responsibility to try to do something to help people en masse. And um, I wouldn't be doing that if I just stayed in my corporate job. So yeah.
It's a big deal. It's a big jump. And it seems like there's a lot of people nowadays recognizing, hey, I have skills and people need these skills, and being able to break out of the mold and go and do something like you're doing. But it takes so much courage. So that's really cool. We've talked a lot about in my own coaching and stuff about like this feeling like the money is just always slipping through your fingers. And, for my husband and I, it was like, I mean, I can remember early in our 20s when we first got married and hearing, people who were middle-aged complaining about their level of income. And we would go home and we would be like, oh my God, if we were making that much money, we would never be complaining like they are. Like, what? There's so much how could they possibly have this story, but then, our family has grown and then our needs have grown and we own a home and I mean, next thing you know, I've got a 16-year-old as well. So now we have 3 cars and just on and on. And our our feeling that the money is slipping through our fingers has actually not changed until now. We've not seen a path for that. The focus has always been on make more money, and I feel like, I don't know, we got to a point recently where it was like, wait, like we've surpassed our goals multiple times on the make more money side, and we still feel the same level of like scarcity,
Yeah.
So, but you've kind of said you've seen that. Like how many Americans do you think are going through the same cycle?
You would be, I would feel comfortable saying it is upwards of 90%. I would feel comfortable saying it's probably upwards of 99%. There are stories. I mean, you won't believe it because you'll have the same exact feeling that you did in your 20s where you have this thought of, if I had that, I would be very different. I would be very happy. We all kind of have this assumption that with a little bit more money, we'd be happy. When you make, you know, $8 an hour in a minimum wage job, you think, "Ugh, if I can make 15, I would be happy." And then when you make 15, you think, if I can make 40K a year, I would be set. And then you start to think, well, if I only had 70, then I'd really make it. And then you start, well, 6 figures is where it's at. Those people that make 6 figures, they're so snobby, they're ungrateful, they're not doing it right. But me, I would do it differently. And I'm making 6 figures. And then people who make 6 figures, they're looking at the people who make 200,000 thinking that that's really what I need to be happy. And you'd be shocked. You think that it stops, but there are millionaires who are looking at the millionaires next door thinking, if I just had 10 million, if I just had 100 million, if I just had a billion, like it literally, people who are multimillionaires that might still be thinking they don't have enough. Why is that, right? Why do we always feel this we're out of alignment? Um, because our wants expand. You know,
Yep.
when I was a kid, if I had $20 in my pocket, I felt really rich. I could,
Yep.
you know how many bags of chips I could get with this?
Exactly.
You know? Um, but now I have bigger wants, right?
Yep.
Um, as my income has expanded, I want more things. Um, and so long as your wants outpace what you have, you're always going to feel scarcity. Um,
Scarcity. Yeah.
yeah.
And I know for us, there was a long time where it was like, yeah, but we literally like, these bills appear and we're like, okay, we don't know how we're going to meet this bill. And then, we've always figured it out. But at some point it was like, wait a second. I think that the way that we're approaching how we manage our money is contributing to the problem. And in my world, and I've hired so many coaches around mindset and go back to your past and heal, your money stories and all of these different things, but nothing has ever really touched like, yeah, but like how are you actually spending the pennies and dollars that are coming in today and tomorrow, and how are you actually doing that? So I think this is a good point to transition and talk about um, what is financial coaching and what do you do where you talk about financial therapeutics?
Yeah, yeah. Um, it is, like you said, it is about turning these like ideas into a reality for you. A lot of what I do is about behavior change. When people hear financial coaching, a lot of times I think what they're thinking about is a financial advisor, who is oftentimes a pretty technical um, role in your life that might give you some recommendations about stocks to buy or mutual funds, kind of like, hey, it's black and white. This is what you should do. This is what this is what I recommend. Um, and they're also, sometimes compensated based on like what they're able to sell. Um, I think of an advisor as somebody who gives you advice, like, hey, here's some advice. Here's a piece of paper. Go do the thing. And I think of a coach as somebody that goes on a journey with you to help you to win at something. Who's walking those steps with you. So what I do is a lot more high touch. Um, when we're going through a transformation plan, we're going to be meeting every single week, not once a quarter, 13 times a quarter, and probably texting in between. It's very much about like, well, what is the day to day of your journey actually taking you through? How do we actually merge the plan, the black and white of the numbers into the feelings that are actually driving your decisions? Because all of our decisions are coming from whatever values we're trying to create in our life. And that's where the problem comes. Like people come to me because there's a part of them that wants to do something, and there's a part of them that is fighting that other part. The
Hmm.
different pieces of us are in conflict with each other, kind of like the different pieces of me were in conflict. And so long as those pieces are fighting each other, um, and they're not in alignment with each other, you're gonna feel this internal, the battle is happening within you. You're gonna feel the scars of that battle. You're gonna feel that anxiety. You're gonna feel that scarcity. Because last week me made some decisions that it thought were the right decisions at the time, and this week me is having to bear the brunt of those decisions, and is now trying to decide what decisions it's gonna make for next week me. And I try to work with people to get those pieces in alignment. So in sessions, we're gonna talk through, you know, yes, we're gonna make a plan. We're gonna, try to make a spending plan and things like that. But we're gonna talk a lot about like the values that are driving your spending, what you're actually trying to achieve in your life, what feelings you're trying to create in your life, what's the dream that you actually have for yourself, that you're thinking that you want to go towards, and how do we actually get you there?
That's so cool. And I've experienced that. Plus, everything I do is super emotional. And so, like, I think people in the past, when we've tried to do this work, it's like, they're in one lane or the other. They're either going to talk to me all about my trauma and we're going to hang out there and we're going to, like climb through the maybe less tangible side, or they're all about the tangible, and suddenly I'm having a panic attack, but I can't say it because this person's going to think I'm an idiot for like having emotions around money. And I've really appreciated how much you've normalized that for both CJ and I, that like your emotions are driving the whole show. So it's okay that emotions are coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly. It's about finding the balance between those two sides. Your emotions are driving the show, but we also can't forget about, well, how does this actually translate into my day-to-day life? I don't want to just take you into the traumas, because your traumas from your childhood, I like to think about it this way. I think, and I don't know if this is like something in our society, but we think of our child self as like a different person sometimes. Like, oh yeah, well, that was when I was a kid. But there wasn't you didn't walk through a magical portal when you turned 18 that left that other person behind. we are all 7-year-olds, just 7-year-olds who've had more time who've been doing things for the last, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. But you're still a 7-year-old. You're still that boy or that girl. And when you remember that, you'll realize that everything that you're doing is based on whatever that 7-year-old was trying to achieve. So I don't want to forget that. But then we need to turn that into something that's actually changing your behaviors to help you to get to the things that you actually say you want.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. It's this weaving of like the yin and yang and the masculine and feminine in your head and your heart and your yeah, there's so many parts of us.
Right.
And I think in the spiritual community too, definitely there's this a lot of people have amazing gifts and there's this struggle even to just charge, and then they get to this point, okay, I'm charging, but it's not about the money. And you know even that, it's like we all have to live. We're just talking about resources here. So the more I feel I can do to bring my heart into alignment with the resources, this is what we're talking about. And if we want to live these lives of vast pleasure and service and impact and things, like we need the resources and we need to be grounded in that way. So yeah, this is why we've hired you. We've ripped off the band-aid. We knew it was going to be hard. We're in a hard thing with it. I'm giving up my nails for a period of time.
And I'm so proud of you for making all of the hard choices. You're doing great so far.
I got invited to dinner with a friend recently and I said, can we do tea instead? And because we're doing all of this, massive rearranging and stuff, and it feels really exciting and it feels really nice to have a coach like you on our side to help kind of hold guardrails for us, help keep us accountable, help keep us grounded into this alignment. And something that you haven't said yet on this that I've really appreciated is about our future self. How, like,
Yeah.
we might feel like we're robbing ourselves now, but what are we giving ourselves for the future? Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. This is one of my big concepts, right? I think of us as like having different pieces of ourselves, like you kind of alluded to. And oftentimes I'll make my clients name it. So, maybe there's a name for the kind of current youth that's more playful, that's trying to create values of maybe experimentation or connection, or it's driving towards whatever it thinks is important in the moment. This is the version of you that's like, I want to indulge in that piece of cake right now. I want to take this nap. And then there's a different version of you who is thinking about the future. And maybe that has a different name, right? Maybe it's like Mr. Ryan versus Rye. And Mr. Ryan is thinking about, well, I could eat this piece of cake right now, but I have this value that I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight right now. And I want to feel a certain way about my body and about my health. And I would take a nap, but I also have these things that I wanted to achieve today in terms of connecting with my family or whatever the thing is, or going to my work or whatever I'm trying to bring to light in the world. And those things, those two sides, the Mr. Ryan, this Mr. Williams or what have you, and Rye, they have to coincide in the same body and the same resources. And you can literally look at how your resources are being spent, and it reads as a map of your values. It reads as a map of the things that you're putting your time that you translated into dollars, that you're putting it towards, right? The money keeps the score. It keeps the score into all of the decisions that the two different parts of you are making. So you need to make a decision, like how much is the right amount? What is the right balance between current me that's thinking about today and the future me that's thinking about tomorrow? how much should I put towards that person, towards, towards their wants and their needs and their values? Everything that I say yes to, that Rye says yes to, is usually saying no to something for Mr. Ryan, and vice versa. Everything that I say no to is actually saying yes to something. When I'm saying no to my nails, I'm saying yes to the bigger thing. I'm
Yep.
saying yes to the stability that we're trying to create. I'm saying yes to the the feeling of freedom that we're trying to get to. I'm saying yes to the growth that I want to see in myself and my family, etc. Um, and those values and finding the ways to find the win-win between the two where they can both live and they can both have some space to survive. That's the ultimate goal, I think.
I love that. Well, as we wrap up today, I'm thinking about like I think everybody knows they need a financial coach, but most of us don't hire one. And if we could kind of break down, like, what do you think are some of the reasons why people don't just take this step and stop living paycheck to paycheck and start getting into more financial groundedness?
Yeah. Great question. I think that people on the surface will tell themselves sometimes, I don't have the time or I don't have the money. Um, to invest this time or money in myself. But really, what's probably also happening underneath the surface is you know that it is going to be work. You know that there is some behavior change that will need to come. And if you're not ready to step into that change, um, then it, nothing will happen. Like I can only create the container.
Yeah, there's a million excuses that can get in the way of that one.
Of course, of course.
I know for us too, like there's points of it where it's very exposing, like how we spend our money, you know, how often you're going to fast food or how often you're borrowing from your business, money that should be devoted towards other projects or different things like that. Speaking from experience, it's like, well, shit, here it is. So,
Yeah, yeah, no.
so it can be emotional. And I think that's why it's so important to be able to work with somebody that you can really trust. That can hold the space for the emotional side as well as the grounded, tangible, tactical steps to become better stewards of our resources.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's what I try to be. It can be, like you said, very revealing. And like I said, it's a map of your values. So sometimes you might feel, well, I don't want somebody to see what my values are because I'm embarrassed about this thing. Where it's not a place for you to feel embarrassment, right? It's a safe space because everybody has a rye in them. Everybody has this thing that is trying to create these values, and whatever the value is important to you, and that's fine. The question is, are you happy with it yourself? Are you in balance with what all of the different parts of you are wanting to create? And and if I can create that safe space, that's why confidentiality is such a big part of what we do, and it's so important is that people feel like, all right, I can just really be completely open here, because it is emotional. It is revealing. But once you go through that and you feel comfortable in it, and you feel comfortable in looking at yourself, I'm gonna hold up a mirror to you, and you feel good about who you are. Then I think that's an ultimate freedom. That's my thought process.
I love that. Ultimate freedom. Yeah, we've got some big goals. We're right in the middle of it, but I'm really looking forward to so many elements of money that I've worked on and this piece around how we actually manage our finances, especially with a big family and everything. Like I'm so ready to change that story. And as with anything, like this is something where I know that this will have ripple effects on the generations that are going to come after me. But I also believe it will affect the generations that have come before me. You know, my
Mm,
ancestors were like dirt farmers working in fields, working till the day they died. And you know, all of their wealth came from just the sweat of their brow. And we live in such a different time. Like I get to claim my own story and do this differently. And so again, I wanted to bring Ryan to all of you, uh, and say, reach out to him. He's amazing. I hope many of you will. You're also welcome to DM me and ask me more about my experience. But Ryan, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you or learn more about what you're doing? Where should we send people?
sure. So they can go to our website at jorycoaching.com. It's
But
Jori.
is also the founder.
Sorry, there's a little bit of a lag. Go for it. Yeah.
Great. Jory Coaching. Say that one more time for us. I'll put it right in the comments.
Yeah, sure. It's Jori, jorycoaching.com. They can email me, Ryan with two N's, Ryann, at jorycoaching.com. And they can even just text the phone number, which you're free to put up our phone number there too, 267-544-9819.
All right. Awesome. Ryan, thank you again so much for your time. Are there any final thoughts that you'd like to share to somebody who is um, wanting to feel in greater financial alignment?
Yeah. Whatever you're feeling, it may feel a little isolating sometimes, but it's normal. I've seen it all. What you're going through is normal. If you're ready to make the change, you can reach out to somebody for some support or keep trying to make the change yourself as well. But it'll happen when you're ready. That's another thing is I won't try to rush people. They have to feel like they're ready to step into that new phase of their life. So it'll happen when you're ready, and it's okay. It's okay.
Thanks again so much, Ryan, and thanks everyone for watching. If you do watch this, whether live or in the replay, leave us some comments. We'll say hi, and we'll see you next time.